everyone, this is John.
And Stacey.
From the Paranormal Sideshow Podcast, and
there is something strange about this week.
June 8th.
So, Stacey, where shall we begin?
Well, without a doubt, this week's lead story is about an in-depth report prepared by and for the military that analyzes that so-called Tic Tac UFO footage. Now, this is the footage that was released by the To the Stars Academy back when they announced the Pentagon UFO program that they weren't admitting they were doing. And if you don't remember the footage, it's the one from 2004 where there was an unknown 45-foot-long Tic Tac shaped object that was seen by the USS Nimitz off and on several times. And this report...
So hold on a second. When you say Tic Tac, do you mean Tic Tac like out of the plastic container, or do you mean Tic Tac like Tic Tac Toe?
I think like out of the container, just very large.
Of course, there wouldn't really be a shape to a Tic Tac Toe, would there?
No.
It's sort of the game.
Well, this report was found by the I-Team out of Las Vegas, and we've got a link for it where you can go and look at the report. And among the key findings of the report, they talk about this anomalous aerial vehicle. They don't call it a UFO.
Right.
They call it an AAV. And they have...
Fancy.
They have all these statements from F-18 pilots as well as radar operators from the ships and several different people, and they say that the AAV is not something that belongs to the United States or any other nation, that it was so advanced it rendered U.S. capabilities ineffective, and it showed velocities far greater than anything known to exist. It could turn itself invisible, both to radar and to the human eye, and essentially it was undetectable and unchallenged.
Right.
But then they decided eventually that this was not a threat, and they buried the report.
Yeah, this is not a threat. I'm sorry. Everything that you just said was kind of, in reality, a threat. Mm-hmm. I mean, invisible.
Yes. Unchallenged, undetectable.
Yeah, it sounds like a plot for the next Marvel movie.
Well, this report... It's not dated and it has no logo, but 4 separate people who are familiar with its contents have verified to the I-Team that it is the real deal and it was written as part of this Pentagon program. So like I said, go to our website, click the link, check the report out for yourself.
So do you think the I-Team has some kind of like special little slogan that they use for themselves, like, now there's an I in team? You know?
Maybe.
Because if they're not, they really need to fix that.
They're missing the boat, right?
Not to one-up you or anything, but do I have one for you? Or as we say in the biz, I've got a BOGO. Buy one, get one, baby.
Oh, 2 for 1.
That's it. It's a twofer. This past week, 2 asteroids were spotted in China and Africa, respectively.
Wow.
Yeah. Fireball, variety. But the one in China... was pretty spectacular. It lit up the sky, as you can see on the video. It just made the night turn into day, which is always nice. But, for me, that was really straight up textbook asteroid.
Right.
I don't know if you feel the same way. It looks that way to me. The one that really got my attention, and I know that it got your attention too, was the one from Southern Africa.
Right.
Botswana. And I'm not talking Botswana like the really bad indie wrestler in 1987 called the Botswana Beast, that I just have to say was like a ripoff of Kamala, but he was never Kamala. Botswana Beast, you are not Kamala. You will never be Kamala.
Had to put that out there.
Just had to put that out there. But anyway, in Botswana, where the Botswana Beast didn't come from, because he came from Macon, Georgia, I'm watching you, Botswana. There was a very intriguing piece of video that was captured on CCTV from a person's ranch, is what it looked like.
Right.
But the really crazy thing about this asteroid was the fact that NASA claimed, and right now I'm doing air quotes, allegedly, it burned up in the skies above the Earth, right?
Several miles, I think they said.
Right, the atmosphere, right? Well, the crazy thing is, this thing that supposedly burned up in the atmosphere, still doing air quotes, is actually seen in this video as coming down, and it looks like an impact. I mean, it looks like what you see it coming down, and then it boom.
It's very suspicious.
And not only that, but locals, were compelled enough to send in their videos. And, there was a lot of very shaken up farm, animals and stuff that were, they didn't give us much on the way of interviews, but, you could tell they'd seen something, right?
Of course.
But in all seriousness, this really didn't look like what NASA said it was. Not to think that NASA would ever do anything like that.
No, of course not.
But it was something we really go into more on the podcast. It's a very strange story, only because of the definitive nature of what they said happened. And then you see this on the video.
Right.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Well, I have a conspiracy-laden story for you.
Oh.
This is a story about some alleged
there's that word again.
MK Ultra victims to file a lawsuit in Canada.
What's that on a boot?
This is about a group of victims and family members that were supposedly affected by the CIA's infamous MK Ultra program. They are planning to file a class action lawsuit against several organizations for brainwashing experiments in Canada.
That's going to go terrible because all the government has to do is say the one trigger word. You're going to see that court case start, and then all of a sudden you're going to hear Rosebud. And it's going to look like Planet of the Apes in that place.
If you don't know what the MK Ultra project is, it was a bunch of brainwashing experiments by Scottish psychiatrist Ewan Cameron, who had financing from the CIA, and he subjected his patients to things like electroshock treatment and experimental drugs like LSD and other methods to depattern them and possibly reprogram them.
Yeah, before they had figured out the internet.
Right. A lot of the victims suffered severe mental harm and were unable to function properly after all of the treatments.
Again, before the internet.
So in this case, close to 40 individuals have met and discussed what they're going to do. They are planning to request a public apology and compensation.
Yeah. I mean, that's the least they deserve is a public apology. But, I don't know. It's very crazy. And MK Ultra is just one of those things you always hear about, right? That's one of the X-Files that's going to be written into every script. In fact, everything you just said sounds like the start of a movie or something. But the scary thing is these atrocities actually happen to people. And that's not even to mention some of the things that happen, like with sterilization, and some very horrible experiments. It's more than science fiction. So this next story falls under my realm of strange and magnificent.
Okay.
The Catholic Church is investigating a weeping Virgin Mary statue for a possible miracle. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The Roman Catholic Diocese of La Cruces is investigating reports that a bronze statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe in a southeastern New Mexico church is actually weeping.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I love it when these things happen because they are super creepy and beautiful at the same time. The first occurrence was during the noon mass on Sunday, May 20th, and then again the following Tuesday. Now, not to any surprise, the next Tuesday was sold out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, the building was filled with visitors by the time of Tuesday's second weeping. The church manager who was in the building on Tuesday when it took place said the statue began crying as the group inside the church finished a rosary. It's beautiful, she said. The tears aren't watery. They're like an oil-like substance, and the tears smell like roses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so only high officials from the Catholic Church can declare the occurrence a miracle. After a scientific investigation that will involve DNA testing, I don't know who they get for that, like 23 Psalms and me, X-rays and other instruments. Can you define other instruments, please? They'll be able to determine, whether or not this is a miracle or not. And as they said, you can't prove a miracle, but you can disprove all other explanations, which is very Sherlock Holmes of them to say.
Yes.
But still, yeah, just an amazing story. The only thing that I might add to this is this is in New Mexico, but it's still down in that Mexico region. And we've had heat that was so hot recently that it's been melting traffic lights and traffic signs. Okay, that's how hot it has been in Mexico.
Right.
So I know that the Southwest has had some pretty intense heat. And I mean, I don't
know. I think the statue is bronze, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if it gets hot enough to melt bronze, we got another problem, I suppose.
I think so. So this next story is the very essence of why we love the paranormal.
So it's a mystery.
It is. This is a story about a dog that has spent 3 days staring at a blue wall at a bus station, and nobody can explain why.
Wow.
So this is a Labrador, and it's in the Argentinian city of General Roca.
Maybe it thinks it's a big clue.
Perhaps he does.
He's been standing there for days going, Steve, hello. I found the clue.
Well, someone in the town videoed the dog and put it up on social media, and the video went viral. And a lot of the people on social media, they thought maybe he was a stray. They had a lot of different explanations. They gave him like this name, called him Chico or whatever. And eventually it came out that the guy who posted the video said, no, he's not a stray. His owner actually lives near here. You know, he's from right that in the area, and that the dog's name is Indio.
Well, a great name for a dog.
They figured out that he's not blind or any other strange thing. He just stands in the corner of that bus station, very close to the wall, and stares at that blue wall. He's been doing it, I think the time of this video, he'd been doing it for 3 days.
Right.
And nobody can figure out why. Even his owner has no idea why.
It seems like the simplest thing in the world to determine that dog is staring at a ghost.
You would think so, but I guess people don't normally jump straight to ghost.
Well, they should. I mean, dog that has never stared at this blue wall, all of a sudden is staring at said blue wall. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you could see it in the picture. It's very odd.
It is very odd. And his owner did eventually go to the bus station and take him home because the video had gotten so much attention. He was worried for the dog's safety. So now the dog is just locked up at home.
And now it's time for that bonus story that we promised you on the podcast when all of you listened, which I know you listened. You did listen. I promise I'll listen. I'll listen next time. Shh. I know you all listen.
So our bonus story is about the NASA announcement that we talked about.
Which was totally not aliens.
It was not aliens. In fact, when the announcement started, the first thing that the woman that was leading it said was, "We've seen everybody's posts on social media. This is not an announcement that we found."
Which means she listens to the Paranormal Sideshow and she was like, hashtag not aliens.
So the announcement was actually still pretty awesome.
Yes.
They announced the discovery of ancient organic matter buried beneath the surface of Mars. And what they found is some complex molecules. They were uncovered by different instruments on the Curiosity rover. It drilled down into the rock, and they figured out that these rocks that it was drilling into are like 3 billion years old. And where they're at is they're on Mars in the Gale crater. Mm-hmm. And they've said that it's possible that these molecules could have been possibly produced by organic ancient life.
Right.
They don't know if that's because there are other factors that could have produced these same results.
For some reason, all I can see is a Martian going, "I never had sexual relations with that intern." Because, you know, there was some organic matter that got one president in a lot of trouble once, but continue.
Well, they did say that, you know, there
organic matter.
Other factors that could have possibly created these molecules, but that the findings are intriguing and they are going to continue to look into it because there is that possibility that this is leftovers from some kind of ancient type of life.
Yeah, in fact, billions of years, which was amazing. And
yes.
It could be the start of something very, very intriguing.
Yes, and there's actually another part to this announcement. It was another big development that they discussed where they were doing this 5-year-long study on the methane content in the same crater. They were doing measurements of the gas, and it revealed that there appeared to be a seasonal change in the amount of methane found in that particular area. Now, why this isn't, you know, big on its own, it is also another indicator that maybe there's a microbial source for the change in the methane. They don't know, but again, it's just another one of those clues that put together with everything else could possibly lead to that conclusion.
Patterns.
Yes, so it was a very important announcement. It was a big deal. It wasn't, you know, hey, we found life, but you never know.
Okay, so real quick before we wrap this thing up, I just wanted to give a shout out. Even though I said I would do it on the podcast, I thought, hey, we're just starting this Patreon thing. So why don't we give the $10 more patrons a shout out on here?
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be great. Jeffrey Carter, Leroy Westridge, Derek Baldwin, Rob Fauner, Michelle Sinisi, Russell J. Hooper. I just wanted to give a shout out. I felt like I was just introducing our hockey team. Something cool like that. But hey, thank you guys so much. Hey guys, if you like what you've heard, please check out ParanormalSideshow.com and follow the links for our weekly podcast. Also, become a sideshow off yourself and pick one of our killer levels on our Patreon to help support the channel and to help keep us bringing you bigger and better content. So until next week, For my lovely wife, Stacey, I'm John Edwards. So long and
stay strange.